Hello and welcome to Runkle of the Bailey. My name is Ian Runkle. I'm a Canadian criminal defense and firearms lawyer. Today I want to talk about an American lawsuit that involves firearms. And this is the case of GWACS Armory or GWACS Armory. I'm not sure which they prefer. I'm just going to go ahead and call them Armory in this video because they do that in their own court filings. And GWACS kind of sounds like a duck noise. They are involved in litigation with KE Arms, Russell Fagan, Sinistral Shooting Technologies, Brownells, and Sean Nealon. So if you watch In Range Technologies and you've seen about the What Would Stoner Do project, this is what the lawsuit is about. Now, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail into the underlying claims in this video. And the reason why is you just heard me say I'm a Canadian criminal defense and firearms lawyer, and this lawsuit involves a lot of intellectual property claims. Some of them seem a little suspect to me, but again, criminal defense and firearms lawyer, and as much as this case involves firearms, it's an IP case. So they're being sued, amongst other things, for violation of trade secrets that involve a physical item that's being sold into the world. That seems suspect to me, but I'm going to do another video where I bring on an intellectual property expert, somebody who knows more about this, to talk about those. What instead I'm going to talk about in this video is the stuff that Armory doesn't want you to know, or they don't want broadcast. And you might be saying, whoa, that sounds a little conspiratorial. Well, not really. Let's bring this up here because they've actually filed for a protective order and order prohibiting extrajudicial statements and pretrial public communication and dissemination of information in order to prevent you, the public, from learning these things because they're worried that this might contaminate a jury pool or whatever else. But largely, they're also worried that this might hurt the reputation of the people involved. And there's very good reasons why they might be worried about that. Now, the good news is that as part of these filings, they actually included the stuff they don't want us to be talking about. So all of that then became public record, which is great because now I can share that with you guys and we can go through it. This is not what we call the greatest move, but hey, yeah. I'm also going to link here to Carl Casarda of In Range. He does a video talking about this, so check that out. He gives his side of the story, and, it's his side of the story. I'm also, just as full disclosure here, I've talked about how I've gone to brutality events in the past and had a great time at them. Those are put on by In Range TV. I've met Carl to the extent of shaking his hand and having about 30 seconds worth of communication with the guy. So I'm not super familiar with him, but I do like the shooting events he puts on. So that's just there by way of full disclosure, so nobody thinks I'm hiding anything or whatever. So let's go and have a look at the, this is a portion of the deposition transcripts, so we can just have a look at what's going on here. And this is the deposition of a Mr. Oppenheimer. So let's have a look. And what a great name, right? So this is the videotape deposition of Reed Oppenheimer. All right, so there's a bunch of stuff in here that they are very upset that has been put out into the public, so we're just going to keep doing that. All right, so the first question, and you'll note here that the page numbers are going to jump around because this is portions of the deposition. They haven't given us the full deposition. They've just kind of highlighted the points that are contentious. So, question, did anybody ask you to fund litigation relating to this lawsuit or related to this lawsuit? Answer, yes. Do you know when that occurred? I think it was a couple years ago. So approximately 2 years ago. Can you get any more specific than that or no? Why did you decide to fund the litigation? I was an investor in a company. It sounded like a good idea. When you say the company, I want to make sure I'm clear. Which company are you referring to? GWACS Armory. And then there's an objection as to form, but they can still answer. So carrying on here, yes. So when we talk today, I want to talk specifically about GWACS Armory. Okay. And then they skip over, there's a gap here because you see it's going from page 17 to 27. Do you attend any of the business meetings for Armory? No. Do you attend any of the annual meetings of shareholders? No. How would you describe your involvement with Armory? Remote, passive, and obscure. Do you recall the total amount you've invested into Armory? No. Who would know that? Object to form. I'm not sure. Clayton, perhaps. Does Clayton keep a record of your investments and the return on those investments? How much you spent, how much you've earned back, that kind of thing? Object to form? No. Who does that for you? Nobody. You don't do any accounting whatsoever to see whether your investments have any return for you? So you can see he's putting money into this, but he doesn't seem to be particularly interested in what's going on with the business, except to fund the lawsuit. That seems to have got his interest. That's something that he seems to have made a personal call about. And that's just judging from looking at this deposition here. But so now we've jumped ahead from page 27 to page 65. So there's a whole lot of gap there. All right. So do you recall having been asked to invest funds into Armory for the purchase of any other intellectual property? No. Do you know whether Armory has asked any other investors to provide money to purchase intellectual property? No. Do you know whether Armory has asked or sought investments from any other... Let me go back. Do you know whether Armory has received any investment proceeds from any other party to help with research and development of the CAV-15? There's an objection as to form. No. By Mr. Hardy. And did Armory ever come to you and ask you specifically invest in research and development with respect to the CAV-15? And the CAV-15 is a lower for an AR-15 sort of variant. No. If Armory had come to you and asked you for additional investment in order to conduct research and development of the CAV-15, would you have made that investment? So there's another objection as to form, and the answer from Mr. Oppenheimer is probably not. And why not? I don't like AR-15s. Then why did you buy it in the first place? Then I did. So you can see that Armory is a company whose basically, from what I understand, their sole product is AR-15s, and was AR-15s is really the proper way to describe it, because they were out of business before any of the stuff sort of happens here. All right, so your position on AR-15s has changed since the original purchase tremendously. And what changed? This gets to be pretty subjective. Do you want to hear about it? Is it the answer? This doesn't have anything to do with this case. Come on. So that was an interjection by the lawyer there. Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this question. Does it have anything to do with research and development? No. No. Okay, personal opinions aside, I just want to know if it had anything to do with, or anything to do because you believe that the AR-15 is no longer a viable platform. No, it's very viable. And it no longer has a place in the industry? No, I didn't say that. So it simply has to do with your personal opinions relative to the firearm, but nothing to do of the industry. Your personal opinions of the industry? Of the industry, yeah, the weapon is fine. Have you invested in any other private firearms companies? No. Because I do understand that you have the military side of defense. So that's why I was asking about the difference between private sector versus military sector. Yeah, defense being the operating word. Are you aware that Armory has made claims for misappropriation of trade secrets? This is one of the claims as part of the lawsuit. No. Are you aware of any trade secrets that are at issue in this case? No. So he's not really familiar with what's happening in this lawsuit, right? This is the fundamental basis of the claim for a lawsuit that he's funding. When you sat down in Arizona with Russell, that would be Russell Fagan of Sinistral Shooting Technologies, did he describe things to you as trade secret at all? Do you recall using that phrase? And here, unfortunately, we don't get the answer to that because they skip to page 75 here. So the question ends with viable company going forward, and the answer is yes. And do you intend to continue to invest in Armory? No. And why not? I don't like the business. And you say you don't like the business. I want to make sure I'm clear because I don't like the AR-15 business, semi-automatic weapons. Now you're saying automatic weapons, and I know that's defense. I said semi-automatic weapons. And you know what? I'm going to give this point to Oppenheimer because that distinction is an important distinction. Semi-automatic firearms are not automatic firearms. That was a good clarification from Oppenheimer, so I'll give him that point. So you have an objection to semi-automatic weapons generally, and that's the issue with an objection means I don't care for them. I don't go out and picket or carry signs and stuff, but it's just not something I'm interested in. Okay, and so If Armory comes to you and wants to further develop their AR-15 platform, do you intend to further invest in those further developments? Object to form? No. No. And so carrying on here, if Armory had come to you back in April of 2018, which is when they first put together some of these summaries, would you have been interested in further investing in the AR-15? There's another objection as to form. No. And for the record, it was April 2015 when they put together the summary. This one has April 2018, so they're just this is lawyer back and forth. Yeah, Exhibit 23, which is, you said, summary. Okay, so let's look at the other one. In April of 2015, would you have been interested in investing further in the AR-15? No. And that's because you have a personal distaste for the AR-15 market? Yes. And it is AR-15 specifically or just semi-automatic? Object to form, and the answer is you're a hunter. And the lawyer answers, I am. The witness should not be sort of putting questions to the lawyer because the lawyers are relevant to the process. So semi-automatic is a broad thing, including 22 pistols and everything else. Specifically, the AR-15 and military-style weapons to civilians, I'm not that interested in. And the reason I ask the semi-automatic, are you aware of any other developments beyond the CAV-15 that Armory is undertaking within the firearms industry? No. And so within the AR-15 platform being its only development that it's purchased in terms of developed, I guess the only asset that it's purchased, how does the Armory, in your mind, how is it a viable company? Answer, I don't know. Now he's investing in this company and he doesn't know how it's a viable company, and he doesn't like the AR-15 platform. He doesn't intend to invest in the AR-15 platform, which is the only thing that Armory does, except for this lawsuit, which, if successful, would shut down a pretty successful AR-15 design. So, yeah, you can see why they're upset that, Carl Casarda and Russell Fagan and others are talking about this. Because I don't think this looks great in terms of the motivations for this lawsuit. Do you believe it to be a viable company? Yes. How? You make things and sell them. What is it going to make? I don't know. That's interesting. Because if it's your position that it shouldn't be making AR-15s, what else is it going to make? And the lawyer interjects, he doesn't own the company. He's an investor. He doesn't make that decision. Yeah. That kind of feels like, when your brother sort of steps in to help you in a fight. So as an investor, you just made the position that you're no longer going to invest in the company beyond your existing investment and the funding of this litigation. Correct. The funding of this litigation is, I think you testified, an ongoing part of your investment. So how are you ceasing the funding of the AR-15 if you're continuing forward with this litigation? I just do what I do. I don't have an answer for that. I feel like you should have an answer for these kinds of questions. You just write checks to continue the investment. That's what you've been asked to do. I just felt it was the right thing to do to fund the litigation if Judd is being sued or suing somebody. I have a lot of confidence in Judd. Now, Judd is associated with Armory. That's who that is. But did you have any expectation of a return on your investment? At the time, yes. So that's all we've got here in terms of these materials. But it doesn't really paint the greatest picture in terms of what the purpose of this investment is. Because this guy is supposedly investing in this company, and you'd think that normally when you make an investment in a company, that you either like the, maybe you like the products, maybe you think that they're a good thing to be selling, but that isn't really necessary. If you might just be investing in something to make money. I've got mutual fund investments, and I suspect some of the companies that are involved in those funds are probably not companies that I'm super thrilled with. But, here this is a direct investment, and he's saying that he doesn't intend to fund the thing they do, right? Armory makes AR-15s, or made AR-15s when they were actually operating, and because they stopped operating, and it was all they did. So it seems really weird to get into this company and say, I don't want to fund the thing they do, just the lawsuit, and I really don't like AR-15s, but hey, here's this lawsuit. So, yeah, this is the thing that they're trying to keep under wraps, and of course, they're seeking a gag order. I don't know if they've got this gag order, and if they do, then it's going to be one that prevents the people involved, like In-Range TV, from talking about this. But doesn't stop me from talking about it, and I've got a Pacer account, so I'm going to keep sort of looking in on this one and seeing what's going on. Currently, it is scheduled for trial at the end of November. They had a settlement conference that was clearly unsuccessful. There was no settlement as a result of that. So I'm going to keep sort of an eye on this one. As I said, I'm going to be bringing on somebody. I just need to find the right person in order to talk about the intellectual property issues that are involved here, because I don't want to get too deep in the weeds talking about my thoughts on trade secrets and trade dress and so forth if there's somebody better to talk about those things. So I'm going to look at bringing on a guest for that. Anyway, thank you for watching. I just kind of wanted to share these details with you because I thought it was really just outstanding that they were like, we want to stop them from talking about these specific things that we are going to file and put into the public record. Good job, guys. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that just amuses me just a little bit. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you found this to be interesting, maybe a bit entertaining and educational. Please like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to see more content. I also want to thank my $50 supporters which are Canada's National Firearms Association, the CCFR, and the Canadian Shooting Sports Association. At the $30 level, Sights and Arms Limited. And at the $20 level, Mark, Jane Baben Luxor, Haywire, Dale Nesbitt, Cameron Johnson, Bruno R., Andrew Elsich, and Vicky. Thank you as well to my $10 supporters who are going to be in the crawl immediately following this. Thank you for watching. I hope this has armed you with knowledge. And if you're not already a subscriber to In-Range TV, check it out. So yeah, I'm going to try to see if I can put some links up in the description below for those channels. Anyway, thank you for watching. See you next time.